All right, Flesh and Blood, Commoner Vodcast, episode 25.
Mm-hmm. I've lost track. I'm no longer the guiding beacon.
Definitely didn't look it up right before this, too. But what we're going to be doing, we discussed something, I believe, on episode last time.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was on episode we discussed it, not after episode. But about doing a sort of battle royale of some of our best decks to decide who ends up at the top. And so naturally that means some of our best decks that have gotten a little bit older now need some touching up before we do that. So we're going to be looking at some of the old decks we've built and bringing them into 2023 so that they can beat each other up for our entertainment.
And hopefully stay stable. Or
yes.
At the very least, they'll stay current.
Do what they do, but just better.
New year, new you.
And not all of them are decks that we have built on video or played on video quite yet, because there's definitely not some games that still need to be edited and come out.
Okay.
So there is Fae and Dromai in this list. This will be the first time we've actually probably shown the list. But essentially we're going to be looking at those two. Don't expect many changes for either of those specific two decks, though. There's one card I know for Dromai, and I don't know if we'll find anything for Fae.
Yeah, I don't think there is.
I feel like we probably are not going to find anything for Fae. I suppose... So I guess we'll start with Fae. We're going to start with Fae and Dromai because they're probably the easiest, and we'll end with the first deck we ever built, Briar, because Briar may need some changes. And we'll see, actually, because not a lot of good Briar cards have come out since then, but I think there was some stuff in Dynasty that I actually liked for Briar, the idea of. So I think there will be some changes.
One spoiler, though, is I fought hard. I fought long and hard for Chain to get on here.
Oh, for the top 8?
But it was vetoed.
And then Ira is also missing from that top 8, which is probably criminal, but I don't even have the list online for my Ira deck.
We would basically have to make a completely new deck.
I would have to, I'd have to make the list up, and it's been so long since I built that Ira that who knows how out of place that deck is now.
So, I mean, technically we could do that, but we're not going to.
Yeah, we could, but, we have 8. We figured out 8, well, for the most part. One of them we're not going to go over today because it's Arachne, who comes from the most recent set. So his list is already done. The only thing that has to happen is that we have to play the version we built on this podcast versus the red-yellow version, and the last man standing goes in, and the loser fades into obscurity. We take the deck and we throw it in the trash.
Are we going to do best of 3?
No.
Okay.
Best of 1. Purely accurate data.
I mean, it's going to be
This is about being wholly accurate in a way that only best of 1s can be. Leaving no room for doubt. Because that's probably also how we're going to do the whole bracket thing, too, because it's already going to be 31 games?
Yeah. 31
games to do 8 decks split into 2 groups, to do a group stage, and do a bracket split. But at least we're going to do the group stage first, so that seeds them into the bracket stage, giving a better chance of getting good results.
We should do
and not having the 2 best decks against each other in the quarterfinals.
We should do an unedited version, the 10-hour version, for whoever wants to watch it.
Oh, Lord. That would be rough. But yeah, so that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be touching up decks, just getting them into ship shape for that, and then probably one of our podcast episodes will just be an after action of the games we play, because we're probably not going to record all 31 of them. So it's probably just going to be us summarizing each game and then the bracket stage.
We're recording every single hour of it.
Yeah. For the 10-hour cut.
Yes.
Unedited. Live stream gameplay. But first off, we're going to start with Fae. Like we were saying, not a whole lot to do with this, probably, because
I'm pretty sure the new cards are like antithesis of what his abilities are. Or at the very least, the Crouching Tiger doesn't work with
there are, in fact, a whopping 3 cards that cost 0.
Yeah.
So the rest of them are, in fact, antithesis. There is new equipment, which only benefits Crouching Tiger, so I guess probably not using that.
No.
You're also... So, what does Crouching Tiger do again? It's just a 0-cost ephemeral go again. Okay. So the only thing that makes it useful is if you match it with all the stuff that boost it.
Right. Because otherwise it's just a 0 go again.
Yeah. There's not a lot of ways to do that.
And you can't pitch it for anything either.
Yeah, it's because you can't even... Oh, wait. Yeah, you can have it in your hand, can't you? I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You can have 2 in the deck.
Yeah,
and then there's a bunch that make them. Yeah, so I mean, I don't think any of these are things you're going to do, because this isn't Draconic, so it doesn't even help your Draconic chain links if you make some.
Yep.
So, yeah. Don't think so. Not on this. So let's check generics. I forget if there were any. No. Not really.
Ponder.
There was the Ornate Tessin, I suppose.
True.
Which I don't think you can really fit in, right? And I mean, you would Ember Blade if you were going to not use the Lantern, I think, right?
Yeah.
So then the big thing I could see you doing here is I feel like you didn't like this when you played it.
What was the other option that it could be?
So there's a number of options for the chess piece. Let's see. Equipment. Oh, right. I can't set it by just chest. I'm still on the set. Never mind. I can't even take that off now. I forgot that they do it that way. Reset. Common, rare, equipment, ninja, search. That doesn't... Oh, yeah, because I'm losing my mind here. It's generic. So, actually, there's generic and one other. There was the typical ninja thing, which is not worth a super amount, but the, was it Vest of the First Fist? That's the one that, when an attack card you control hits, you can destroy it to gain 2. How much does your sword cost?
2.
2?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I mean, it gives you like a free sword attack when you use it. So there's that. And it doesn't break the chain. That's the more important thing.
Right.
Whereas
that was the issue, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Blossom of Spring has to go first. So there's that. There's also the Draconic chess piece, which is like if you've played a red card, you can crack it to give you 1 at instant speed, which is kind of like Blood Drop Brocade too. Which
is it the sash?
Yes. Yep. So that's another option. It's just I feel like you did not like the Blossom of Spring, and there's not a lot of options, or the only thing you can do with it is swap it out for an Ironhide plate.
Right.
Currently. So.
Well, it was kind of dumb to put it in. I don't know why I did that.
Well, I think it's not terrible. It's just it's just a weird feeling when you have to do it ahead of time, and I do kind of like the idea of Vest of the First Fist, because Blossom of Spring, Sash, and the other one will give you half a sword.
Right.
Whereas Vest will give you a full sword swing if you can hit before it. So that seems like something you could do that would probably help. Just actually going to edit here. Dragon of Legends. Oh, do I not have the format set? No, I do. I guess because that's a token. I guess that's probably why it popped up. All right, what do you think?
I do like the idea of the free sword swing.
Okay.
I feel like the last time I played, I didn't get to use the sword as much, so this would make it easier.
Easier to use the sword, yeah.
Granted, it was it was the matchup, probably.
Yeah, a little bit.
Was that recorded?
That was. It hasn't come out yet, but
Okay.
that was.
I won't spoil it.
I don't think it's too much of a spoiler to say that you were playing against Icelander.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it reveals at all the outcome of the game to say that it was difficult for you to use the sword in a matchup that is wholly designed to make sure that you can't pay for anything. So, that was a little bit of the matchup. Yep. But I think Vest would only help with that. So, but other than that, I mean, I think the rest of the list is fine. Nothing new's really come out. Which again, it's the same thing that we're gonna face with Dromai. Is that like these lists were built during Uprising, and one set has come out since then, and it's a supplemental set. And specifically in the case of Ninja, all the new cards were built around this whole new mechanic and idea that you have to kind of like fully commit to.
Right.
So
I mean, we could put them in there. It would just be like
why? Yeah. it would just be why. Because like so the one thing I could see here. We're going to have to reset this again, but Ninja...
It would be like tying lead fishing weights to one of your shoes.
Well...
You can do it, but why?
Now I think about it, there probably is a little bit of a reason to look at this, just to be sure. I don't think it'll be the case, but there is this Pouncing Chi, and it is a 3 power attack. Okay, but it doesn't have Go Again unless you use a Crouching Tiger. Okay, never mind. Yeah, so it doesn't go in. I mean, I just wanted to double check the 0 cost attack that was there, just to see if its raw stats were fine without using Crouching Tiger, but if it needs Crouching Tiger to get Go Again, yeah, that's miserable.
What about Predatory Streak?
That just makes Crouching Tigers.
Right.
Which that would almost be tempting if they were Draconic and could count as Draconic Chain Links.
Yeah.
But they don't.
Which I have the Cinder Claw, which
could make them.
Yeah.
I guess. That might work. Hang on.
But even so, the Crouching Tigers still only do 0 base.
You have some finishers, right? What was the... Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's not 0 use with Lava Burst. Because Lava Burst doesn't care if they're Draconic or not. But I don't know. One, it breaks the chain, so you'd have to use it first.
And even if it does send out Crouching Tigers, they only hit for 0 base.
Yes. So all it's going to do is help you get to Lava Burst, which I don't think is super difficult for you regardless.
It would be a weird hand.
All 40 cards cost 0.
Yeah. It would be a weird hand where all you do is just like hit for 0
and then Lava Burst for 5. But against Icelander, you pitch your entire hand to pay for the Predatory Streak. Or is it Streak or Strike? Streak.
Yep.
You pitch your whole hand to pay for the Predatory Streak through the Frostbite, which then gives you the Crouching Tiger, so you can go Crouching Tiger, Crouching Tiger, Crouching Tiger, and then you use the final card Lava Burst, 5 damage. Your entire hand for 5 damage.
It's kind of ridiculous.
All right, so that's the first fist, so we call it there?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, so that's Faye done.
Oh yeah, should I set that to public?
It's up to you. All right, so that's Faye down. I suppose we should be marking these changes as we go. So, good old pen and paper.
Yep, on random mail.
All right, so Faye is down. Blossom and up. Vest. Okay.
I feel like there was another card that I took out of one deck, which I think was Faye.
Oh, okay.
Put into another, but I don't remember.
It was probably sideboard. We can always figure that one out later, too.
Right.
All right, so that's Faye down. Now we go to Dromai. Now, Dromai, different situation. I'm totally okay with the equipment. The biggest thing that I could do with the equipment here is, I believe, did I, or did I not? Oh, yeah, I still have Deep Blue and Sash of Sandakai. So in theory, I could cut one of those because I have it like that to test the two of them, and the reality is I don't really need Deep Blue ever, I don't think. But at the same time, I don't really need Sash either, because if I played a red card, I probably don't really need too many resources at that point, because everything is 1 cost or 0 cost. But I think it's pretty minimal, because I have 3 pieces of Ironhide in here already. So what am I doing if I take it out? I'm putting in another piece of Null Rune, which I already have Null Rune Hood and Silent Stilettos, which have Arcane Barrier, and then every single dragon has Arcane Barrier 1 on it. So what I'm saying is their sideboard doesn't matter because Dromai is broken. But there was one thing that came out in Dynasty. My brain is not working. There we go. Illusionist, that's the name. There was one that came out.
We forgot to add Crouching Tiger Katsu to the lineup.
I think we need to try that before we 100% toss it into throw it into the fire.
Did I build it? I don't remember if I built it.
Let's see.
Not physically, but
I mean, Spectral Prowler here is not awful as a 0 cost attack that can gain Go Again. The problem is we don't have a lot of ways to make Spectral Shield, so it's not likely to have Go Again.
You don't want the Water Lantern? Come on.
Well, so actually the Water Lantern is what's going in.
Ah.
Water Lantern is 100% going in. I'm looking at the other Illusionist cards because, I mean, Blessing of Spirits is not awful. Makes a bunch of shields. Wave of Reality is awful because no Illusionist wants that, and I don't know why they keep printing Illusionist gloves for no reason. But don't want it. However, Water Glow Lantern red, 0 cost, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's red, you get a Spectral Shield token, which is just going to absorb 1 point of damage, and it has Go Again. So it's just a 0 cost red card with Go Again that turns on all of your dragons. And since the deck is 34 red cards, your odds of hitting with a Water Glow Lantern is
fairly high.
Fairly high, yep.
Fairly high.
And there is a card that I am quite okay with getting rid of, and that is... Where is it? No, not Skittering Sands. That is disgustingly good. Or did I actually? No, it's Sandcover. That's the one. That just gives target Ash Ward 4, which kind of does Spectral Shield, but for 4 points of damage instead of 1.
Right.
But the problem with this is that this does need to target an Ash.
Right.
So if you have no Ash, this is unplayable.
It also...
And it can't target Ash under dragons.
Right.
So... And it's also an instant.
Yeah.
If that's what you were going to say. And can't block. I don't know if this can block. This can block. So, yeah. Sandcover goes. Water Glow Lantern in.
Waga.
Yeah. So that is one just easy change. And it's probably about the only thing to do there. I mean, there's also... I had thought about this one at the time, but I still don't think I'm really going to bring it in. Because it's just prevent 4 damage and then you can gain 1 life. And people are really excited about it, but I'd rather just kill my opponent than heal myself. Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, so there you go. That's Dromai done, too.
What about the Ornate Tessin?
My weapon is 2-handed.
So get rid of it.
And it is the entire point of the deck. It is in fact the entire point of the deck.
But Ornate Tessin.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. I'll play against that Dromai any day. All right, so down, Sandcover, up, Water Glow Lanterns. Okay. Dromai is now better because she wasn't good enough to begin with. All right. That brings us to Warrior. I'm trying to think. Generic. And let's toss in because... Whoop, not you. Uprising. Because Uprising came out afterwards. So was there anything that came out in Uprising that...
Was there anything new in the Dorinthia set?
There was, but we already have it.
Okay.
We adjusted it once already. That was the On a Knife Edge and Thrust.
Okay.
So then it's just a matter of... I don't think there was anything here in generics, but... I mean, we could get Spellfray in.
Oh, boy.
Everyone loves Spellfray. Yeah, this all looks pretty bad. Pretty bad for Kasai. So, I think there was some stuff we liked in Dynasty, though. That's the question. Oh, yeah, right, the daggers. I forgot about the daggers.
It was something to do with piercing.
There was a piercing one.
Was it puncture?
Oh, yes. Puncture was good because that's an attack reaction for 1 that gives you +3. And if they just so happen to block with equipment, you get even 1 more point of damage.
Mm-hmm.
So that one is good. You said piercing, and I thought, no, we talked about it, and the piercing one was awful. But right, there's the +3 with +1 piercing, and then there's the just piercing 3. And it's the just piercing 3 that's awful.
Okay.
That's the bad one. But you're right, Puncture is the good one. Puncture is definitely the card we were looking at. It's Precision Press that's not... Oh, wait, that's a rare card anyways. Never mind.
How'd that get in there?
This is the one. Visit the Imperial Forge, where it's not a reaction, so you have to use it ahead of time, and it gives Piercing 3. That's it.
Right, okay.
I have rare checked on because the equipment.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so I guess it's just Puncture then.
Okay.
Because these are rares, so we don't have those. I don't think she wants the dagger. I think you're better off with the sabers.
Yeah.
And then you're definitely not using Felling Swing.
No.
Maybe one day, Bolton. Now, the harder question here. We know what we want, but what can we lose?
I feel like we answered this already.
We did, and I don't remember the answer. Were we dropping blue cards?
It was one card that did the exact same thing minus whatever Puncture has.
What does Puncture cost? Was that 1? 1. Okay, so we're looking for something that costs 1. Cost 0. It's hard to believe, but it could actually be out for blood that we were talking about replacing. That'd be shocking. So reflex, second swing, steel. Were you talking about getting rid of Stroke of Force? Or was it actually Thrust? Wait a minute. Were we actually talking about getting rid of Thrust?
Maybe.
Because yeah, that does sound right, where it just does everything that does, but better. And I think it even blocks more, too, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay, so yeah, Thrust comes out, and...
Unless there's something else that we would want to get rid of, but I don't think there is.
Now I think about it, because, like, Sharpened Steel has issues where you have to play this first and then attack, but it costs 0. Iron Song Response, they have to have blocked with a card from their hand for it to do anything, but it costs 0. Right. Out for Blood has the more guaranteed damage to a certain degree, as long as you can attack again, because then the next one will gain +1. But, like, Piercing has an issue of, like, they have to block with equipment for Piercing to do anything.
Right.
And we are playing Commoner, in which there's not a lot of equipment that can block. And almost all of it that can dies immediately. Yeah. So the only other thing is if we wanted to replace like a blue card, but I feel very nervous going down on blue. Oh, you don't even have any of the bad blue cards. Like, the worst one you have is Biting Blade, and that's even still kind of... That's kind of fine because you're usually going to get at least 2 attacks, and it's going to boost both of them. All right, yeah, so I guess it's just thrust out and puncture in.
It's red puncture, right?
Yeah. And I don't think we want to cut anything else because all of these other cards, like all the yellow cards, give Go Again, which can't really replace. And then in blue, they all give Go Again except for Out for Blood, which I think blue Out for Blood is better than blue puncture.
Yeah.
I think I'd rather have that just flat +1 than piercing 1, but that is debatable. Otherwise, they are functionally the same. And then Biting Blade. I mean, you could replace Biting Blade with Puncture, I suppose, but this does have the potential to give +3. +2 to the first swing and +1 to the next swing.
Right.
So, technically can give you 1 more point of damage, although it does cost 2 instead of 1. So I think this is the change to make, and you just have that asterisk next to Biting Blade that, like, when you have it, does it feel bad? Would you prefer that it is a blue puncture?
And that might be more of a situational.
Yeah. Yep. And to be fair, if you're going to go that route too, you could start thinking about other stuff too. I mean, puncture is the easiest one to put up against this because it's effectively 2 damage for 1, which means this is just 1 more point of damage, but only if you can have a second attack. Whereas if you put it up against like blue Stroke of Foresight, now it's like drawing a card instead of extra damage. So then there's a 2-point damage disparity.
Now, is there anything with the equipment that we need to change?
Second swing too. That's a good question. It looks like, and this is funny to me, this is the most ancient looking sideboard ever, because like you look at Dromai and Fae we have like all these different weird cards where you have like stilettos and tide flippers that like both are the null rune equipment but also do something else, and then this is just like the most basic equipment layout ever, but I think it actually is fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Okay, what about Blossom of Spring, because we were talking about that one before.
I think with Warrior it's not as big a deal.
Not a big a deal.
You do have a couple of, so like,
because you don't have to worry about the chain.
So there's a couple of things. You do have to worry about the chain on a number of things. Like Biting Blade is if defending actually no, that doesn't care, because it's if they've defended with a card this chain link, now your weapons have +1 for the turn.
Okay.
So that actually doesn't matter. I think Out for Blood may. No, actually doesn't. Oh, it's worded in a way you think it does, because it talks about the chain link and all of these. But it's just looking at that moment, on this chain link, have they blocked? If so, the next thing I do this turn has +1. So yeah, actually they don't care about the chain link at all. And then also too with Kasai, like, the Blossom actually is pretty great because usually you have to pay for the first sword and not the second sword.
True.
so you usually are cracking it first anyways, just because.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that's fine. And then obviously, like, the only like Warrior equipment we already have here. And then they haven't really printed another good generic helmet to replace this. The Coat Merchants is still the best option.
The Ornate Tessin.
That's not a helmet.
I never said it was.
Oh. Yeah, well, okay, sure. You could put Ornate Tessin here. I want you to tell me, what matchup are you going down the second saber for the Ornate Tessin? And before you answer that question, remember, too, that Kasai's ability makes your second sword attack each turn cost 1 less.
Icelander. There we go. Boom. No, that would be worse, actually.
That would be worse. Because you would just want to kill Icelander in that case. And I noticed...
I'm pretty sure we talked about it last time, where the only, like, Kasai can outpace Icelander because of her second sword.
And I can't remember exactly when we've done this, but we did update it to Dorinthia versus
Kasai?
Reinar. Dorinthia versus Reinar, the
set.
The set. Have we actually? Did we look at it for Everfest? Because I noticed we don't have the arcane lantern here, and if there was anything that was going to ever give you the thought of going down a saber, oh, that's what it is. I forgot. We've used up all of our rare slots with the sabers.
Yeah.
So to put in Tessin or Lantern, you would have to cut a saber and have no possibility of double saber.
Well, that was the joke.
I forgot about that. I thought you were just legitimately suggesting we just throw it in there as like an extra, so the occasional mashup you would go down a sword and up that. Yeah, no, that's why they're not in here. That's impossible.
There's
I am
literally
curious
no reason
now, though.
to do it.
Did we actually look at this for Everfest? I feel like we must have. But let me just make sure nothing else is... Oh, yeah, Blade Runner. Duh. Yeah.
Pretty sure we made it after that.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance of that. I think there's a very, very solid chance that you're correct, considering how many critical to Kasai cards were there, like Blade Runner. All right, yeah, so I think this is good. And I think Blossom of Spring is better than, like, Blood Drop Arcade and stuff like that, because you control this fully. And since you don't care about the chain link, that's not a downside, so. Alright. Well, then I guess, there's Kasai. These are the simplest changes ever.
Well, that's why they were first.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I love that the change for Kasai is that we just take out the last card we added and replace it with a new card because it's already been power crept in the short time since we last upgraded this deck. I think the On a Knife's Edge still sticks in, though, because the 0 cost next sword attack gains go again. Just seems really good. Like, you have so much go again in this list. Like, as a Dorinthia player, I hate you. I just want you to know. Like they've printed so many of those cards now that I think even Dorinthia has to give up the Dawnblade at this point. It's like, just forget the Dawnblade. Dawnblade's stupid. Yep. You just go Sabers. You just go Sabers, and the advantage of Dorinthia over Kasai is that I could swing 3 times in a turn, whereas Kasai has the second one free. So, and I think Kasai does outweigh Dorinthia because the second one free, I think, is going to be far more useful than possibly hitting 3 times in turn.
Right. With Dawnblade, it's basically just your opponent overblocks, and then eventually they run out of cards to overblock. And
that's the hope. Yep.
Whereas Kasai is you just keep hitting.
You just kill them. I love Dawnblade from the perspective of, like, it's actually a super well-balanced weapon because you've seen a number of times just how out of control that can get, where, like, the second you don't block it, the nightmare begins. But you lose all of them the second it doesn't deal damage. So it's like, it is actually pretty well balanced, unlike the Runeblade version of this that is stupid broken, that's banned in every single format. I think it's even banned in Ultimate Pit Fighter. I can't remember.
Duskblade?
Yeah, the Duskblade. The one that they openly admitted they never play tested. They just threw it in at the last moment.
I feel like that was banned before we even started this podcast.
Possibly. Yeah. I mean, it was never in Commoner to begin with because it was Majestic. But I think it was banned before Tales of Aria released. I think it never actually made it to competitive. It was gone long before then. And I'm not sad about it, having a Duskblade myself. That I think is now banned in Ultimate Pit Fighter, so I think I have to take it out of the chain Ultimate Pit Fighter deck that it's currently in.
Of course.
You can't play that card, ever. Alright, so there's that. Man, Dash might actually be kind of complicated. I know this is the first world problems for me here with, like, every time Mechanologist cards come out, I'm like, how do I get rid of all of these precious children that I have?
At least you don't have to worry about all those Majestics that...
That's true. I don't have to worry about building the mech, which is honestly kind of disappointing, but... So I don't think I care about any of the hyperdrivers.
Hyperdriver.
She's not super item based to begin with, so like I am running the red hyperdriver, and that's probably all I'm ever gonna run. Urgent delivery, 0 cost. When it hits, you can put an item into play. Okay, so I don't care about that.
Yeah, that's one of those.
That's
cards.
high damage though.
Yeah. It's one of those cards where it's meant for
Data Doll,
but it doesn't help Data Doll.
It actually might a little bit. I was actually just thinking, I'm like, oh man, we really do need to relook at Data Doll, because Data Doll is going to want those extra hyperdrivers.
I mean,
you're probably going to run these urgent deliveries.
I guess, yeah, that would be another pseudo finisher, I guess.
Pseudo finisher in the sense that it is a card that you can actually play. It costs nothing. It doesn't require anything. You can just be like, here's my hand. It sucks. I have 3 cards, but this one costs nothing. Go. And then, yeah, I guess it is a pseudo finisher because it increases your chance of putting things into play if you have boosted.
And then you boost it out.
So that's how it works. You 0 to 60 and boost, and then you urgent delivery. And then, of course, the 0 to 60 boosts in items, you get that for free, too.
No, it's going to boost the
urgent delivery. Yeah. 100% true. Jumpstart becomes a zipper hit if you have an item in play. Oh, God. Windows, no. Yeah, so I don't think you're running Jumpstart. Maybe there's a world in which Data Doll might run Jumpstart. Just because costing 1 is not bad for a Data Doll.
True.
Can't pay for anything. But I don't think I'm putting that into Dash. I don't think Dash really wants that. Oh, that's what I was thinking about. Crankshaft. I knew there was a card I looked at that I was like, maybe Dash would want this. Crankshaft is tempting.
Oh, right.
Because it refills your hyperdriver. Mm-hmm. And you will have a hyperdriver if you're playing Dash. There will, in fact, be a hyperdriver.
That's what you start with, right?
Yes. Typically. Yeah. I think I do have, I may still have it in here, a Dissipation Shield, in case I decide it's too defensive of a matchup for hyperdriver.
Oh, okay.
I don't know that matchup exists. If I'm quite honest, I don't think I've ever put Dissipation Shield in.
Maybe it would be if you're fighting against another Dash and you're on the defensive.
Oh, and that's what I did. I have 1 Dissipation Shield and 1 hyperdriver, and that's it.
But I mean, how would you know? Whatever.
I mean, the nice thing about Dissipation Shield is it is yellow, so it does pay for a lot of things. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what are my 2 costs? Overloop refills the deck, which is good. Throttle is my highest damage at 2. I think that. Oh, and then zoom in. Ops. Does Crankshaft do what zoom in does damage wise? Okay, it does. So I think I might just replace the zoom ins with Crankshaft. I think I'd rather refill the hyperdriver than opt. Because, like, really, I mean, like, opting's the reason zoom in came in is that opting is never a bad thing. It's like I'm always okay with opting, right, because it just makes sure I'm not boosting away my finishers. Mm-hmm. But, like, I'm guaranteed to hit the boost every single time. I just may lose something I didn't want to lose. But I think refilling hyperdriver is a bit better. And each color does just put 1 counter. Okay. So then I think I just replace the red zoom in and the blue zoom in with Crankshaft. Call it a day.
Was there any other cards?
I think that's pretty much it, because the only other thing is, let's see, yellow zipper hit is 4 damage. Yeah, so Jumpstart is just like a zipper hit. You have to jump through steps to make it do that. And I don't think I want... Like, I obviously wouldn't replace zipper hit with that, because zipper hit already does 4 damage for 1 with boost.
Right. And you're only having the 1 or 2 hyperdrivers?
I just have the 1.
Just the 1.
So if it dies, it is gone.
Right.
And Crankshaft at least is going to do decent damage in that situation if that happens. So I mean, zoom in would be better if my hyperdriver is already gone than Crankshaft is, but I mean the hyperdriver comes in with 3 counters, so I have 3 turns in which are I'm trying to think. 2 turns then, because if it's on the 3rd turn, it will have killed itself already. But that's not necessarily true, because that counter will come off when I boost. But I think I can stack those triggers, so I could have Crankshaft put the counter on it before it takes the counter off. Not 100% sure on that, and that's like a 1 in a million case situation. But yeah, I think just dropping zoom in for Crankshaft is probably making the deck slightly better, but to a very minimal degree. And then for equipment, I don't think anything has been printed that really replaces any of this stuff. No. And I still have the shotgun, even though I think the shotgun is bad now, but it's just kind of...
there.
Yeah, I mean, what else am I use the spot for?
You could have...
2-handed weapon.
Yeah.
Who were you about to say, Renee Tesson? Were you about to say that stupid ban? No, the weapon is two-handed.
Both
of them are
holds
two-handed.
a pistol with 2 hands? It's not a pistol if you gotta hold it with 2 hands. It's more of a blunderbuss.
Well, because it's a medieval kind of setting, so you know guns are new and probably super bulky and heavy.
They have a mech.
They do have a mech. They also have a fully AI like robot that is its own thing with its own personality.
Well, we don't know that.
Well,
actually, I've never read the lore for Data Doll.
I believe so. I believe I did read a little bit of it. So down, zoom in, red and blue, up, Crankshaft, red and blue. That was easier than I thought it would be. All right. So Dash is done. All right. Viserai, because I put him on this list against your protests.
I didn't protest. I just wanted chain.
Yeah. Were we going to put every single rune blade on this? That would have been true if we did this a year ago. But now I don't think the rune blades are the broken class anymore. I think Draconic is the broken thing.
Well, I think Chain's broken for a different reason. Because he needs to be fixed.
I think he probably is better than we think too. We just actually need to
play it more,
tweak him up, and then
actually
play
it properly.
Yeah. I think a bit of unlucky on a number of things.
I just need to play it as mid-range like it is instead of aggro.
Yeah.
Like it's not.
Did they really just give Briar's Arcanic Shockwave to everyone but make it cost 1 more? But it doesn't need to be fused? Oh no, if a non-attack action card was pitched to play it. So not if you've played one beforehand. If you pitch one, it deals 1 arcane damage. This is actually not awful though. That's really not. Is it better than the alternatives, though? Maybe not. Because I'm trying to think, what would I replace with that? That creates a rune chant, which is too important. What was the one we had? That can gain go again. I thought I had something here that... Oh, Singeing Steelblade. But that is... better because that doesn't have any requirements. Yeah. All right. Never mind. Forget that one. What's the other one? Runic Reaping? It's an entire novel right there. And then gives +1. That is disturbingly close to a rare card. The only problem is it doesn't give go again. Mavrian Skies gives go again.
Right.
Mavrian Skies does the first half and go again,
Yeah,
but it doesn't have the +1.
Though.
Yeah, but I mean, you're only doing 1 attack that turn, in theory. And the question is there actually, like a 1-cost non-attack action I want to replace this with. So that one just on hit, create a rune chant, and then +1, in theory. I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
It's +4. It gives +4 damage. I've used that. I've cast it, and the attack that followed it up.
But it costs 3.
It does. It does cost 3. It does cost 3. Warmongers. Blade. Read the runes. I forgot read the runes is still in here. Yeah, not a whole lot. I mean, like, you can replace the come to fight, but I mean, would you? I don't know that you want to.
It does have the additional pitch.
In theory, it could do 1 more damage if you pitch an attack action card to it. And you hit, creating the rune chance.
Right.
But I think maybe just the +3 go again is just more consistent and better. And also blocks for more.
Right.
And then Skyfire Lanterns does not go in. This is not the deck for that.
What?
This is not the deck for that. We may be revisiting that card later in this episode, though.
Okay.
we may, in fact, be looking at that card. I'm not sure if it goes in, but that is a 0 cost that is red, that is a non-attack action card with Go Again. And Briar is not as red-heavy as Dromai is, but still fairly red-heavy. But, yeah, I think, I did not using the book. The book is for Wizard Briar. That's what the book is for. You could use the book for Wizard Briar, and it's not good even in Wizard Briar. But you feel more like a wizard if you use the book. Draw a card if an attack action card and a non-attack action card can pitch this way. Yeah, that's I forget how bad that book is. That is up there on one of the worst weapons I think in the entire game.
Yeah.
Because you have to pitch 2 cards for it to make 1 rune chant.
Wasn't there its
And
counterpart for a wizard?
Oh, did they make a wizard book?
I think so.
We're not looking at a wizard this episode, so I guess let's just look at... Was there a wizard book? Searstone. Look at the top card of your deck. You may put it on the bottom, and then you get a ponder token, which is at the end of this list, presumably. No? Where's the ponder token? Oh, do I not have tokens selected right now?
Maybe.
Isn't that like scrying?
I think so.
Is that what it is? Okay. All the way to the last page. Nope. Well, I added Waning Moon in. Oh wait, it literally says on the card. It's an aura. It's an aura with at the beginning of your end phase, destroy ponder and draw a card. Right. And that's at the beginning of your end phase, meaning that you draw that card and then you draw up. But I think technically you draw that card, then you decide if you want to arsenal something, I would think, and then you draw up. I think that's the order of operations.
Okay.
I think. Because that's the only way this makes any sense, is that it lets you draw a card right then to possibly arsenal it for, like, Icelander reasons.
Which doesn't sound as bad, actually.
It doesn't. It does sound bad, but it doesn't sound as bad.
I couldn't remember between the two which was worse, but I guess it was the book.
I think it is the book. Although, like, Searstone sounds okay until you remember that you're replacing your staff that deals arcane damage with it.
Right.
Which I think was probably how I did the most amount of damage to you in the game that we played it. Maybe not. There was a couple of big magic spells in there too, but like kind of that's part of the point, is just like using an ice spell to mess up your turn, and then I just Waning Moon you for some damage, and I'm like, all right, well, we're going to do this for the next 20 turns until you're dead. So, I don't know. I think it would hurt too much. So I think Viscera is good then. I think it's the moral of the story here. I don't think anything changes. Yeah. All right. So there's Viserai.
No equipment?
I don't think so, because I think this was done to Everfest.
Right.
Okay. I think that's when I did the deck guide video for it. Which is still the only deck guide that's out there currently. But I do want to do another one at some point. Probably Iyslander or Dromai. All right. Well, then we get to the complicated stuff.
It's only complicated because you think it's complicated.
Well, it's because like the Ranger stuff, like there's so many different things that they do that you like. You're choosing which of your Swiss Army knives you want here, and it just makes my brain hurt.
You know she's not traps.
Yes, we don't really care about traps. We're looking for arrow attacks. So, or non-attack action cards. So, target face-up arrow in your arsenal gains +3 until end of turn, and you put an aim counter on it. What does an aim counter do?
I forget
too. All right, hang on. We'll do that. Aim. I forgot about that bow, too. Yeah, nothing came up for that. What does an aim counter do?
I feel like there was a specific card that does talk about it, but I don't...
Oh, is it like something happens? Oh, if it yes. Okay, never mind. Looking at the other cards explains the cards. Drill Shot, if Drill Shot has an aim counter on it, it has Piercing 1. So it synergizes with the other stuff. And these are rare, so we don't get those.
Right, I think there was only one or two cards that it affects that in commoner. Right, like Long Shot I think is one.
And then the gloves are not great. We're probably not putting those in. That's just when you block with it, which will break it. You get to reveal the top card of your deck, and if it's an arrow card, it deals 1 damage. Otherwise, it goes on the bottom. But the current Ranger gloves put something in your arsenal, which makes it too hard to replace that. All right, so those are rare. So what we have is Hemorrhaging, Bore, Long Shot, and Point the Tip. So Point the Tip is 0 cost, give +3 to a face-up attack in our arsenal, which I think we do have a lot of ways to get things face-up. If I remember correctly, like this puts it face up, this puts it face down, Lexi flips it face up, and then the bow puts it face up, right? Yeah, face up.
Okay.
So, a lot of face up. So in theory, it's 0 cost +3. And then Long Shot is garbage unless you can put an aim counter on it, at which point it does some amount of damage, which is less than a headshot. Headshot is probably, headshot's really not that tricky, because headshot just has to be put into your arsenal face up, which we just discussed how easy that is.
Yeah.
And in theory, Long Shot doesn't say it, but Long Shot also has the requirement of needing to be put face up so that you can use Point the Tip or be in some way made face up. Long Shot does cost less. It is 0, but if we're not going to put aim counters in, is that kind of what it is then? Are we just changing nothing because everything requires aim counters?
It's possible.
Uh-oh, it does kind of look that way.
Unless Hemorrhaging Bore, what does that do?
Command and Conquers. If you can get an aim counter on it, it blows up an arsenal slot. Right. Rude for the mirror match. Or into Iyslander. It is good into Iyslander. But do we already blow up things?
I don't think so.
That prevents Dominate. That goes back in the deck. Now, we do have Icy Encounter in the deck still. I kind of forgot about that.
Well, Icy Encounter is actually not that bad of a card.
That's true. You raise an excellent point. Yeah, so we have no way to destroy arsenals currently, but also do we need a way to destroy arsenals?
Not really.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that we can even get the 0 cost in here for just the pump. Because the way I look at it is like, the pump spells we have Overflex, which does cost more, but also reloads, so it can put something in there for like the rare multi-attack turn. We really only put the blue in. Interesting. I think I remember the logic for that, but did I just drum up how hard Lexi was going to be and we're not going to change anything?
I had a feeling this was going to happen.
Rip. But yeah, I forgot. All of this requires aim counters, and that would kind of have to be like a full rebuild of the deck.
Which isn't worth it.
I don't think so. Because like the easiest way to get these pieces in would be to take out the fusion package instead. Like I don't think there's a world you can have both of those packages living in harmony.
I think it works better for Azalea.
Yeah. Or possibly Riptide when he comes out. He might be one to think about it too. Yeah, a lot of those cards were very Azalea themed because like the gloves are Azalea themed too. But even Azalea is not going to use those gloves.
Watch Riptide not even have a bow.
That would be funny. I would actually love that. I would love that. You've made this joke. I actually hope that's the case. I hope they make a non-bow weapon.
I mean,
for Ranger.
In all the pictures, I don't think I saw a bow.
Yeah, I mean, if he is a Ranger, unless his card says you can't use a bow, you can absolutely build bow Riptide.
The class is Ranger, not Archer.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. He could have like a sling. He flings traps. That would be neat. I'd be very excited for that. But yeah, I think ultimately not only do I think Lexi will benefit more from the ice package than she will from the aim package, I also think that her inclusion in this top 8 is strictly based off the fact that she has access to that ice package.
Speaking of ice, we should probably look at the new ice cards that she...
Oh! That's what it was. You have stumbled on it. It's not Ranger cards we were looking at. It was ice cards we were thinking about. I don't think there's a ton, because most of the good stuff is like ice wizard.
Yeah.
We do get glacial horns if we want it. I think we might, in fact. So here's the tricky part. She'd have to lose Honing Hood for that.
Ooh.
Which is kind of rough. But I do think there's a world against possibly Dromai or against Icelander or... well, actually, no. Icelander, it's not going to work. But like Dromai could work against another Ranger that has arsenaled something. That's brutal. You just absolutely murdered them unless they have Honing Hood, because Honing Hood pulls the card out. Yeah. So I think there's a world in which you might actually sideboard that in. And more importantly, looking at Lexi, we have 2 bows here, and I think there's a much higher chance you bring in Glacial Horns than you bring in Death Dealer.
Yeah, I can see that.
So I think we can make that swap, and that's a common, I believe. Yeah, so that doesn't take a rare slot or anything, so I don't have to worry about that. So I think Glacial Horns does.
I don't think any of her weapons or equipment are
there. I think you may be right. Yeah, kind of looking that way. All right, so and yeah, we didn't put the rare bow in for her because her bow is better. Because her bow gives like dominate, doesn't it? Yeah, dominate or +1. Okay, so then we have ice cards to consider, and those are specifically Cold Snap and Arctic Incarceration. Incarceration is going to be hard for her to use, though, because that does not have Go again. What's the other one? You can freeze a card in their arsenal, or an ally they control until the start of your next turn. What are our ice cards? Ours draw cards and give things dominate. And then we have Winter Spite, which is discard a card, which is disgustingly good. Amulet, that's the same thing. Yeah, and I mean, you are right. Icy Encounter is just a good card. So maybe we would rather have Icy Encounter than, like, Cold Snap that just freezes something.
It does look cool, though.
It does. It does. And actually, if we did do Cold Snap, I guess we would probably do the blue one. That's just they pay 1, or if not, you freeze a card in their arsenal and an ally they control. So you probably would do the blue, and then that would also increase your numbers. So you'd go up to 14 blue and down to 18 red.
What would we get rid of?
It probably would have to be Icy Encounter. So it's just whether we prefer the attack with Frostbite to, which I think is probably the case.
I think so, yeah.
Probably
it's a tempo deck, so we want a little of
yeah,
both.
Icy Encounter is like the perfect tempo card. It hits them and slows them down. And then I do think Polar Blast is actually better than Cold Snap in this particular deck. It's worse in Icelander, obviously, where you don't really have attacks to give Dominate to. But we do have attacks to give Dominate to, and more importantly, we can put this in the arsenal, which would normally suck for Ranger.
Right.
But then we flip it for Lexi to give them a Frostbite token. Then we play it, which then draws us a card, and then we can put something in the arsenal. I think it does actually just work really well with the deck. And then Winter's Bite is like one of the best ice cards in existence.
Yeah.
It's a good card. And Amulet of Ice, same thing. So, yeah. So I think the change is just adding Glacial Horns and taking out Death Dealer. We made a change, though.
Updated.
Something changed. So there we go. Lexi is down.
I almost feel like we didn't need to make a video for this.
What are you talking about? We're at an hour. See? It was necessary. Who do we not change anything for? Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, Viserai. We changed nothing for Viserai. Viserai literally didn't do anything. All right. Solid. All right. Well, then that brings us to the last one.
Right.
I have said it too much, so I'm not going to say that this is going to be the most complicated, but from just a macro standpoint, thinking back, this feels like this would be the one that would have the most possibilities for new things.
That is true.
Because I do feel like that 0-cost non-attack action card could be good. Problem is, the stuff I would replace, I think, are things that are lightning, which we can't replace because we need the lightning. Crackle's good. Shockwave is good. Bramble Spark is.
We could replace Bramble
Spark,
right?
Oh, maybe we do, because then we can take out the yellow and bring in the red. So then that changes our red numbers and makes them better. While roughly doing the same effect.
Okay.
So, yes. Brilliant. You're right. Bramble Spark. Runeblade. What did I... Oh, I still have Ice selected. Alright. 100% correct. So we put in Skyfire Lanterns and out Bramble Spark. Now that does have some... It does increase risk, because if we flip a non-red card, it does nothing. It's just a go again, non-attack action card. So Bramble Spark would do more in that situation. But we are increasing our likelihood of flipping a red at the same time as removing this.
Right.
So that does feel a little bit better. And not only are we improving our odds of hitting with Skyfire, we're actually improving our Ravenous Rebels too at the same time. So, and they block for the same amount, so that's not a factor. I think we're still keeping Amulet of Lightning in.
We're just adding the red?
Yeah, just the red. Because the other ones, like yellow has to hit a yellow, blue has to hit a blue, so those are like definitely going to whiff. And then Runic Reaping was the making rune chance, but that costs 1.
And we got rid
Aether
of the
Slash costs 1.
yellow Bramble Spark?
Yes. Yeah, and we're keeping the red Bramble Spark. Because I think Bramble Spark is better than Skyfire Lanterns from a consistency standpoint, but going up red to make the rest of the deck more consistent while roughly doing the same effect is probably worth it. It's one of the few decks where we would want to actually cut a yellow for a red and be like, yeah, it's not going to... We don't care about the cost because 38 cards cost 0. The only cards that don't are, I believe, what is the lightning card? Electrify. That's our 1-cost cards. That's it. It's just these two. Now the question is there anything else we can do here? We're not changing the weapon. Definitely don't want the book. So let's take it off Runeblade and look at generic now. Just to see what Uprising had. I mean, Flex is a 0-cost attack. Does not have Go again. And we aren't super likely to pay that. But it's not impossible either. What do we have as our 0-cost attacks down here? So that has Go again, so can't get rid of that. That can have Go again. Yeah, maybe it would be difficult to replace that. Because my thought was we could get rid of a yellow to go up a red and make that better. But, like, it would do more damage than Entwined Lightning, but it's never going to have Go again. And we can't get rid of Lightning Surge because that is a lightning card.
Yep.
And then you could do Ravenous Rabble, but that also has Go again. So, like, if you were going to replace something, you were to replace Entwined Lightning before Ravenous Rabble.
Yeah.
I mean, Entwined Lightning will always do 3, but Ravenous Rabble will do 3 to what? 3 to 1. So, might be less, but it'll always have Go again. So that would be a little bit difficult. Actually, wait, what are our other 0s up here? Because we could just make some of these better. That can have Go again if we play it from Arsenal. And it lets us alter or adjust our cards. Because I remember we put some weird 0-cost in. I think it was Overload, though. Which can gain Go again. We just have to pump it. And it already has Dominate. How much can we pump it? We can pump it actually a fair bit, right? Because there's Nimblism will pump it, Minnowism will pump it, which is still not banned. Pretty confident of that.
It was just the little that's banned.
Yeah, the other half of it. Are those the only pump spells? That is actually a little surprising. Okay. Alright. So Flex is probably not making the cut because everything else has Go again. But is there anything else? Oh, that's a rare card, Sift. Oh, Flex is a rare card too. Why did I even... Oh, Lord. Look at what I'm doing here. Okay, Brothers in Arms, we're not doing. Critical Strike, we're not doing. Scar for Scar's already in. Trade in. Scour the Battlefield is better, right? Because Scour the Battlescape does... You can put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck, and if you do, you draw 1 card. Otherwise, it's exactly the same. So the only difference is this puts it in the graveyard, the other one puts it on the bottom of the deck. So
right,
bottom of the deck would be better, I think.
It would, yeah. It's better for cycling.
That doesn't have Go again.
No.
All right, well, I think our very complicated Briar changes are, up a Skyfire Lantern.
Yep.
And then let's look at the equipment real quick. It has been a little while since we've looked at this. Does seem pretty straightforward, though. Yeah, I think that's it for Briar.
Was there any new equipment for Runeblade?
Not since Everfest.
Okay.
And up, Skyfire red. We made very little changes to any of these decks. In fact, Dash was the most changed because we moved a red and a blue copy of the same card out and moved in a red and blue copy of the same card. Whereas every other deck is one change and then Viscerai, which is no changes.
Yep.
So Faye is down Blossom of Spring, up Vest of the First Fist. Dromai is down Sand Cover, up Waterglow Lanterns. Kasai is down Thrust, up Puncture. Dash is down Zoom In, red and blue, up Crankshaft, red and blue. Lexi is down Death Dealer, up Glacial Horns, which is probably the most irrelevant change out of all of these.
I think the only one that's really a fix is Faye.
Yes, Faye is just... And that one's not even that anything has changed. We've just actually played with the deck now and have decided that another old piece... In fact, we are replacing it with a card that came out in the very first set. We're replacing it with the oldest card. And then finally, Briar down Yellow Bramble Spark, up Skyfire Lanterns. All right, well, there you have it. They're ready for deathmatch, I guess.
Right.
So at some point in the future, I don't know if it'll be the next episode. It may not be. So there may be an episode before then. But at some point in the future, we are going to be doing a podcast episode that's just summing up how it did and our thoughts, I guess, on the ultimate outcome.
We might have to grind it over time.
Yeah. We may have to do bit by bit, working our way there. And the decks that are going to be going in, just as a preview.
One shot.
Yeah.
One
10-hour shot, yeah. And the decks that will be going in, which we'll have to figure out what the groups, the two groups will be. But we have, obviously, the 7 decks we talked about here. Faye, Dromai, Kasai, Viscerai, Dash, Lexi, Briar. But then also Arachne, which we're going to have to figure out if the deck we built on the podcast episode or if the red-yellow one goes in.
Do you think he needs any new cards?
No. Revisit that conversation after the pits.
Mm-hmm. Which, maybe this will already be done by then? Who knows?
Possibly. Yeah, it's probably about a month and a half to 2 months.
Yeah.
Actually, it's probably closer to 2 months than a month and a half to the actual release. And the podcast episode in which we look at new cards will probably be shortly before then, because the last cards they ever preview are the commons.
Of course they are.
Because they hate us. And that's why they make Majestic Heroes. That's why.
And that's why we'll sell them out of spite.
Out of spite, yeah. But yeah, so that was episode 25. I hope you enjoyed our very, very simple fixing of decks. I think we did this for Everfest, and that's why it was a lot easier with some of these.
Probably,
is that we have fixed them all before now, but we have now brought them up to Dynasty levels, which did not require many changes. Lexi's technically up to Uprising level now.
And we're going to have to change him again for the new set.
Well, are we?
Maybe Lexi.
Yeah, maybe Lexi, maybe Faye. I'd be shocked if Faye gets good things in the next set.
Maybe Arachne.
I mean, Arachne we will probably have to change.
We could make a whole new deck. A whole new Arachne.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. We make a whole new deck.
More Arachne.
We could do Super Arachne Showdown. The Arachne we built in the podcast, the red-yellow Arachne, the brand new Arachne. Just throw in fully classic constructed Arachne in there for giggles.
Have some twin-headed dragon against the adult Arachne.
Yeah, the two Arachnes against the adult. That would actually be fun. That ironically sounds fun. But yeah, so if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment below, and subscribe to see our top 8 favored deck deathmatch episode.
I wouldn't say top 8 favored.
Well,
it's our top.
I say top 8 favored in the sense that what of the decks we have that you and I would favor to be the best, the top 8, the best 8. So not our favorite ones.
It's our problem children.
Well, Okay, yeah, problem children. I was gonna say, well, they're not problem children. They're really, really good. I'm like, oh, that's the problem. Yeah, you're right. That is what makes them the problem children. Yes, that they are really good. The only one I think that's not gonna go into this list that might deserve to be there is probably Ira. I think these 8 would most likely outperform the rest. Maybe I'm sleeping on Old Him and Bravo, things like that, but
I mean, I haven't seen enough of Ira to know.
I just know she's like the most brutal hero in Blitz, and like for Commoner, she is to this day the only Commoner hero that has a specialization card in Commoner.
True, that is true.
That draws cards,
but
it's really broken.
She hasn't been living legend.
She has not. Actually, you know what? She may have. I can't remember on that one.
Oh, has she?
She may have. This episode never ends. Let's go look back at, what is that? Rules and policies? Formats? Let's look at, I'm gonna open this one anyways. Let's look at Blitz.
It might say it.
Card legality would probably be the one, right? Card legality?
Sure.
I think that's the one. Classic Constructed Blitz or Commoner. They're not banned in... Interesting. They're not banned in Ultimate Pit Fighter. Living Legends? Oh, you're right. It is only Viserai currently.
Well, that's in Blitz.
Yes. Yeah, but I mean, that's what... There's nothing Living Legended in Commoner. Commoner doesn't have Living Legend.
There's.
No, we don't have Living Legend.
Sure?
Nothing Living Legends. See? Nothing Living Legends. Special use promos are banned, though. Yeah, and so it's just Belittle and Ball Lightning that have been banned.
Okay.
Nothing suspended.
Yeah, I felt like that hadn't changed.
Yep, and then that's the one that... Okay, so Dustblade is still playable in Ultimate Pit Fighter. Yeah! Woo!
But only homebrew, right?
No. It is playable in all Ultimate Pit Fighters. The only thing banned in Ultimate Pit Fighter is Yorick.
Oh, okay.
Only the Bard.
That's what I was reading.
Yeah. All right. But yeah, so
like, comment, subscribe.
Woo!
Yeah.
Bye.